Well, hello, good morning from France. Welcome to live coverage for round 2 of the Euroformula Open Series. My name is Harry Benjamin. Thank you very much for your company. We're in France at the circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, near Marseille in the south of France. We're not enjoying the typical weather though, because it is cold and grey with a bit of precipitation in the air. 15 turns await our drivers, 5.8 kilometres, 3.6 miles, and the air temperature has actually slightly increased from 14 degrees about an hour ago to 15 degrees. So potentially getting slightly warmer. It is round 2 of the 2021 Euroformula Open Series, part of the road to F1, supporting the International GT Open Series and uncovering the stars of the future. There is your pole man, Nazim Azman, the Malaysian Crypto Tower Racing Team driver. Contrary to our timing boards, which say Rafael Villagomez is in first, it's actually Nazim Azman who finished 6th yesterday, and he'll be pleased with that because he did stall at the start of the race, managed to get it going and finish in 6th, stealing pole, and he had good race pace yesterday. In second, though, is Casper Stevenson for Van Amersfoort Racing. He'll be very pleased to see no cars in front of him going down into turn 1. And here's a look at your third place man. It is Rafael Villagomez, the Mexican driver for Van Amersfoort Racing, the 2019 Richard Mille Young Talent winner. Louis Foster goes from 4th. Secured a podium yesterday for the number 27. Sounds like he needs some water there.
There's enough of it out there in the sky. His question is whether it will fall in the race.
And here's the man, though, who dominated the first round. Cameron Dass goes from 5th this afternoon for Team Motor Park. And then that distinctive Red Bull livery of Jack Crawford, that I've been told off because I've been telling people that he's from Charlotte when he's not. He's from Houston, Texas. So I've been told off for that. But there you go, he's from Houston. And then just behind him it is Enzo Trulli, the 2021 F4 UAE champion from Descara, I believe, in Italy. Going from 8th, the man from Birmingham is Josh Mason for R Racing. He got into a good battle yesterday in that midfield, but sadly couldn't quite make the most of it, trying to get that reverse grid pole that Race 1 provides you with for finishing in 6th position. Then it's one of our rookies as well, Zdeněk Chovanec, the Venezuelan-born Czech, who go from 9th place. And then just behind him is Vivian Kasei in 10th. The first ever Hungarian racing driver, Enzo Scionti, behind him, and Philippe Cavaliers will start last. But let's have a look at what happened in yesterday's race. So it was a good start from our pole sitter, Jack Crawford, and then Cameron Dass slotting in behind him, on board with Enzo Trulli, who had a good view, getting a bit of slipstream going into that turn 1. Those in the background are your stallers. It was Scionti and Azman who then had to recover and try and make up ground after that. They all made it through the first few corners, seemingly unhurt, as we saw then Enzo Trulli trying to chase down the man in front of him, but suffering repeatedly with brake issues. And there was his teammate Enzo Scionti, who had to pull over the side of the road with smoke billowing from his cockpit. That brought out the safety car, but then we got back underway with Jack Crawford leading the way once again, and we had another battle here. This was the first of that big heated battle with Enzo Trulli and Nazim Azman trying to get that 6th place for pole position. Nazim Azman won that battle, and then Jack Crawford won the overall battle to take the win, and his first win in the series. Very happy day for him at the office, and he'll be hoping to do a repeat of that today as well. But he'll have it a bit more hard work ahead of him. Well, here we go then for race 2, and let's have a proper look at your grid on row 1. Nazim Azman secured reverse grid pole. He starts on 1st place. In 2nd, it was Casper Stevenson. 3rd, Rafael Villagomez, and 4th is Louis Foster, going from row 2 on the grid for race 2 here in France at the circuit. Pole, Ricard, Nazim Azman hoping he gets a better start from pole than he did yesterday, where he basically said he had the pace, but he stalled. Cameron Das, though, goes from 5th. He'll be wanting to make ground on that to his solid start to the year. Jack Crawford next will want to do a repeat of what Das did in Portimao and take a triple win here. He'll see what he can do. It's then Trulli and Mason the row behind them. Zdeněk Chovanec got himself involved in some nice midfield battles yesterday, steadily improving his pace. Alongside him is Vivian Cassay, who managed to get into the top 10 yesterday, and it's Enzo Scionti, who didn't finish yesterday's race, and Philippe Caminiaz, who will go from last on the grid in that number 88 Crypto Tower racing team. And Elliot is alongside me for this race. Loving this new 3-race format that Euroformula has introduced. It's really added in so many elements of strategy and increasing the amount of racing we're seeing on track. And of course, for today's race, it is the fastest lap, which secures pole for race 3. So I think we're going to see a little bit of strategy come into play here as the cars get going for their formation lap. And Nazim Azman having a little bit of a slow getaway there. That's going to be a heart and mouth moment.
Yeah, I think there will be strategy. We saw it in Algarve that as soon as things went wrong, drivers knew the opportunity was there to get a good starting spot for race 3 by going for that fastest lap. But at the same time, you get 2 extra points for gaining the most places from your starting position. So if you are near the back of the order, there's an extra incentive to try and make up places while you're in the race, rather than pitting for fresher tyres. And if the weather changes here, it may as well be that the early laps are going to be the fastest ones as well. So, you know, there's lots to think about in this race, but being up front is certainly the place to be. So Nazim Azman should be feeling pretty confident right now. Yeah,
and we have just had the International GT Open qualifying session, which has hopefully laid a bit more rubber down on track. But our pole man for that, who is Adam Carroll, said that actually this tarmac and the way it's colorized basically on this track makes it very difficult to see where the damp spots are, because it has rained this morning and overnight, so there is a little bit of precipitation on the air. It is it's declared dry now, but it's very difficult to find the spots where it's wet, especially in that sector 1. You've just got to almost hold it together and then make it through sector 2 and sector 3 as quick as you like. So we shall see if that comes a cropper for the Euroformula guys and girls here this afternoon. The second year as well of these new Dallara 320 chassis, which Elliot, most of the drivers are pretty much enjoying. They like this new era of Euroformula racing.
Yeah, it's inspired by the previous generation of Formula 3 cars, the Dallara F312 and F317, going all the way back to when they changed the suspension design back in 1992. So this was designed basically to the team's wishes. They wanted something that was lightweight, did have the halo to meet modern safety standards, but also continued, especially with the side-mounted air intake as well, that classic Formula 3 feature for this series. This car is also used in Japan as well, and before this race starts, looking at the rain outside, Giuliano Alesi was racing this car over in Japan this morning at Autopolis, and also did the Super Formula race alongside, and was announced as a winner about 15 minutes ago because they red flagged that. So a lot of these drivers in Euroformula do actually go on to do Super Formula, IndyCar, Formula 1. Alex Palau was doing IndyCar yesterday. So lots of career opportunities for drivers from this series.
Yeah, some big names to come out from Euroformula, including Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, Jack Aitken, all going down the F1 route, but that is not limited. IndyCar stars as well, in the form of Colin Herzo and Alex Palou, also European Formula Open graduates. And they've also gone successfully onto other feeder series, including Felipe Drugovich, Liam Lawson, Ben Viscal, David Schumacher, and more, who have successfully gone on to the FIA Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships. So a lot of these guys will be hoping to make their mark here in Euroformula to allow them to progress up the ladder further and make an amazing career for themselves in motorsport. As we come up and line up on the grid, Vivian Cassay lying up there, Enzo Scionti pulling in to the second to last grid spot, and then Philippe Caminiaz will be the final car to pull in to 12th spot on the grid in the number 88 Crypto Tower racing machine. And we'll wait for the green flag to fly at the back. It does, and it is all eyes to the lights. and foot to the floor, and we go racing in France for race 2 here at Euroformula. Looks like Nazim Azman's got off to a slightly slower start. Again, he'll be ruining that. He's down to nearly third and having to defend quite heavily, but look at that. That looks like it's Louis Foster who's managed to go around the outside and takes the lead all the way back from 4th on the grid. A brilliant start for Louis Foster as they all slot in to position. It looks like Louis Foster, potentially Rafael Villagomez having a little go there, but that is Nazim Azman wanting to come back and try and regain a few spots. Then we saw a big collision there yesterday in GT Open, and we see another collision here today in Euroformula. That is the number 18 of Nazim Azman, and that is the number, is that the number 8? That is the number 8.
Rafael Villagomez, yeah, so they were coming into turn 4 and basically 2 into 1 doesn't go there. And that resulted in the 2 colliding and spinning. It's allowed Foster and Stevenson to actually escape up front. Jack Crawford up to 3rd from 6th on the grid. Chovanec up to 5th, that's in 4th. So all of our title contenders are getting pretty dicey already. We're going to see a move potentially into the chicane here from Josh Mason on his teammate Chovanec. A little bit squirmy under brakes, has to back out of it on the entrance to the chicane, but he's going to be pretty quick on the exit. You know, all these cars are in a bit of a slipstream train going down this straight on the opening lap.
Yep, so Louis Foster leads the way though as we look at Josh Mason having a little look at his teammate Zdeněk Chovanec. Is he going to... Oh, and there's a little bit of argy-bargy there. No harm done though, and that is him through. Can he make it stick though? It's so tricky here. The number 66 trying to defend for all his might. That is Zdeněk Chovanec improving his pace with race after race, the rookie, against Josh Mason. Can Josh Mason find a way through? No, he's struggling. Chovanec is putting that car in all the right places. Josh Mason racing in British Formula 3 last year, 1 podium to his name, can't quite make it through. And we saw that yesterday as well with Josh Mason, just struggling to make the pass, constantly there. The pace is seemingly there, but he can't quite make it through that. And Zdeněk Chovanec has a lock-up, and that's going to have Josh Mason through 3 to 1, does not go. And that looks like Enzo Trulli trying to have a little run through as well, and he does. Both DriveX cars going through there. Enzo Trulli behind now Zdeněk Chovanec, and Enzo Scionti went through for good measure. So Josh Mason losing out there, back to where he started in 8th.
Yeah.
Oh, and look there, we've got someone way out on the curbs, losing complete control of their car. That's the number 88, that's Philippe Cavaniers, who started last, up to 10th currently, but it is Foster who leads the way with the fastest lap as well so far. It's early days for that yet to who decides to pole for race 3 later on this afternoon, but it's Foster, Stevenson, Crawford, Das, Chovanec, Trulli, Scionti, Mason, Villagomez, Cavaniers, Kasei and Azman, who is still running after that incident in turn 3.
Yeah, and Chovanec under pressure again now here from Enzo Trulli at the start, well, at the end of the first lap, he broke, going 2 wide, further back as well. Both of the drivers 3 wide with the third of the Van Amersfoort cars. This is going to get very, very close. And it's actually Sconti who's been passed, and Mason's lost position as well. Chovanec behind Trulli, so they've all navigated very cleanly there. A lot of overtaking. Here's a replay of the start, which is under investigation.
Under investigation, but they all seem to get away fairly well. No stallers this time around, but Nazim Azman clearly struggling with his starts there. Very slow off the line, and very quickly Louis Foster in that blue tinted car was able to make a move round the outside and get the lead. And there is Nazim Azman going into, it was Rafael Villagomez, and spinning both those cars round. Enzo Trulli having to take avoiding action there with a few other cars. That's just a case of 2 into 1, does not go, around they go, and they're both seemingly...
And that avoiding action for some of those drivers is also going to be under investigation, because they did pass other drivers who took to the track. Chovanec going, yeah, so into the final corner here, he does lock up, and that gives the other drivers an opportunity to have a look. Mason backs out very, very nicely there, avoided getting any damage to his car, very smart move. But it did mean that, you know, the order got shaken up again. Foster ends of the second lap, 1.8 seconds ahead, so he had another 4 attempts to his lead. Fastest lap, Stevenson in 2nd place, Crawford in 3rd, Das in 4th, Trulli 5th, Villagomez in 6th.
Yeah, Villagomez just getting through on Chovanec as well, further back. So Chovanec falling back through the field. Enzo Trulli starting to pull away slightly now in 6th. Then it is Villagomez, Chovanec, Scionti not able to stick with them. Josh Mason, though, has come into the pits, so clearly maybe he did pick up a bit of damage, but that looks like it might be his race over, which is sad to see for the man from Birmingham. But here is Jack Crawford.
And we've got saying the incident involving cars 21 and 34 at turn 15 at the end of the lap is under investigation. So that is Mason and Trulli. So I don't think anything will come of that, because both drivers are quite sensible there as they backed out the manoeuvre. We're following our lead battle at the moment. 2 seconds now between our top 2 cars. Foster is just pulling away from Casper Stevenson. Crawford still in third. Cameron Dass a little bit further back and forth. He might be playing a strategic race again, as he did at Algarve.
Yeah, and that looks like where Rafael Villagomez. Oh no, that's Zdeněk Chovanec.
Yeah.
He's already been done by Rafael Villagomez, so he's now trying to defend from Enzo Scionti, driving a very wide defensive line as well, trying to desperately keep the American behind him. The 2 Enzos in that DriveX team. But it is Louis Foster who leads the way with the fastest lap, pulling a 2-second gap back to Casper Stevenson, the lead rookie Casper Stevenson from the UK, British F4, third in that last year. Looking good to try and hold off Jack Crawford in third. Then it's Cameron Dass. Enzo Trulli in 5th, Rafael Villagomez 6th, Zdeněk Chovanec is 7th, Enzo Scionti 8th, Philippe Caminaz is 9th, Vivian Cassé is 10th, and Nazim Azman is 11th. And I think what Josh Mason has done is he's realised his race is probably ruined after getting mugged on the line, basically, by both, though, in that final corner, by both DriveX cars. So he's coming to the pits, and he's probably going to go and try and set the fastest lap.
Yeah, and obviously you get a point fastest lap. In addition to that, is going to be setting the race-free grid later today as well. So pretty clever drive there by him, and also it allows, when he goes in the pits, for the team to quickly check if there is anything damage to the car and point it out to him, because obviously when you're sitting so low in these cars, you can't really see if there's any damage to the front wing and obviously the rear of the car as well.
And I suspect there might be a little bit of damage. As I say that, he has now gone to half a second behind from a second for Nazim Azman, who was our pole man, fallen back to 11th, as we're looking now, though, at Jack Crawford hunting down Casper Stevenson. This is further up the field. Crawford currently holds the fastest lap. Yesterday's race winner hunting down Stevenson. Half a second now, the gap. Stevenson really sort of not able to keep with Louis Foster's place, because it's now 2.5 seconds between first and second. So Jack Crawford hoping to find a way through. Then it's a further 2.3 seconds back to Cameron Dass. So a little bit of spacing out between a few of the drivers, sort of concertinaing 2 up together here.
Yeah, and with these cooler conditions, they're expecting the lap times to be a little quicker than in turn 1, and no further action just been told for the incident between cars 21 and 34, so that was Trulli and Mason, no surprise there. Haven't got any word on the Villagomez and Azman clash on that opening lap either, but that's obviously in the race. Here is a replay of Crawford trying to take the move, and he does it. He makes the pass on Casper Stevenson, so he's through. He's now into second place.
So Louis Foster now 2.5 seconds, the gap between him and yesterday's race winner, Jack Crawford.
Crawford sets another fast lap, 55.413, around a 10th faster than he was last time round. Foster also improves to 55.5. No other driver is lapping in the 1 minute 55, so I think these two are going to be the classes of this race.
Yeah, Crawford is absolutely on it with his pace, and Nazim Azman back in 10th, your pole sitter, has now gotten through on Vivian Cassé. So you wonder if Azman can find a way through the field, or if he'll bail out halfway through and try and start setting the fastest lap to try and regain that pole position for tomorrow and an extra point.
Yeah, and we just had also another warning that lap times are being deleted for track limits, so if you do set your fastest lap by cutting across any of the corners, it's not going to count, it's not going to contribute to that race-free grid. Crawford, again, fastest through the first sector, only taking a 10th out of Foster though, so he's 2.7 seconds behind. We've got 12 laps to go. If he's taking around 1 or 2 tenths per lap, it could potentially converge at the very end of this race, which would be very exciting to see. But when he gets within around 0.7 seconds of Foster, he's going to have that slipstream effect, which will certainly help.
That is Louis Foster there, your leader in the number 27 Crypto Tower Racing team, the 17-year-old. Made his debut in Euroformula Open last year. 1 win, 3 podiums to his name for RR Racing. Moved across to Crypto Tower this year. And so far, he's got a 2nd place, 2 second places to his name, and a 3rd. So it's been a decent start for Foster, but he'll want to open his winning account today. 2.7 seconds, the gap back from Jack Crawford, who's actually not able to close that, because it was 2.5 and it's actually gone up to 2.7, although Crawford is setting fast sector times. Foster seemingly able to control his pace quite nicely, and then it's Casper Stevenson who's fallen now at 1.6 seconds back from Crawford.
Yeah, so one of the things Foster worked on after yesterday's race was tyre wear, because he was having to look after his tyres more to stay at the same pace as the 2 cars ahead of him in the first race, and he said that was the thing he needed to prioritise coming into this race. And now he's got clear air, he can purely focus on the job he's doing, and I imagine he's looking after those tyres very well up front, because he is maintaining that gap, and he's going to have to keep pace in hand. So if Crawford does get a little closer, you know, he's got the extra pace to then push ahead again.
Well, this is one of our closest battles on track right now. We're looking at the number 34, that is Enzo Trulli. The battle for 5th with the number 8 of Rafael Villagomez. That is DriveX versus Van Amersfoort Racing. Enzo Trulli, son of the Monaco Grand Prix race winner Jarno Trulli, who was here this weekend.
And there was someone else who was in the garage yesterday, none other than Sir Jackie Stewart was watching the pair. I only spotted it on Instagram this morning, but that's pretty impressive that he's come to watch the Euroformula races.
I opened up my Instagram and my mouth visibly dropped, and I was like, Sir Jackie Stewart is here. Amazing.
Yeah, it's great to see. It looks like the actual camera mounting on Enzo Scionti's car is a little bit of an angle there. Wonder if that's deliberately. It kind of looks like a kind of, you know, those French berets with a little pointed
It's
thing.
on a tilt,
yeah,
for fashion purposes.
Yeah.
But that is truly holding off Villagomez a little further up, and then here is that second of the DriveX cars. Scionti trying to chase down Chovanec. He's been trying to do that since the start of the race. Chovanec holding his own here quite nicely. Chovanec, you know, struggling a little bit in the early stages, but slowly starting to understand these cars a bit more. The rookie, the 17-year-old, he's done Formula 4 in the UAE, and he's done Italian F4, 2 podiums to his name in that F4 UAE Championship. So hoping to start to get on it with these Euroformula cars a bit more.
And it looks like, because Chovanec drives the double R and DriveX car behind Sconti, it looks like they're running pretty similar wing levels on the rear wing. So DriveX and there's a front left lock up there for Sconti. So they run a little less wing. I know Trulli's mentioned it as well, that they were going for that kind of lower downforce setup around this track. So it should help in a straight line. We're going to quickly look at the windsock in the airport opposite. There's very little wind, so that means the car should be very stable through turn 7 and 8. There shouldn't be any, you know, sudden gusts coming in either. But it also means the slipstream effect isn't going to be super powerful in any particular direction.
The DriveX team watching on. Enzo Trulli in 5th, Enzo Scionti in 8th. But Louis Foster leads the way, and that is Zdeněk Chovanec getting all out of sorts and into trouble. He's struggling to keep control of that car, fighting to keep Scionti behind him, who closes to within 0.5 now. And half a second.
That's Cameron Dass closing in on Casper Stevenson. We've just been told no further action from anything that occurred on the first lap. So any of the positions that were gained off track, the clash between Villagomez and Asman, no further action. Crawford's taken half a second out of Foster's lead. That's now down to 1.8 seconds. Was up to 2.7 around 2.5 laps ago. Dass all over the rear, Casper Stevenson. We're back on board with Enzo Trulli with the fluorescent wing mirrors, which you do use a lot in Euroformula. You always use them because, you know, especially with the slipstream effect, a car can be very far back, but because it's right in your toe, it's really hard to spot it behind you.
Well, it's Foster who leads the way, but our leading rookie is currently in 2nd and chasing down Foster. It's Jack Crawford, yesterday's race winner. Casper Stevenson 3rd. Cameron Dass hounding Stevenson ahead of him, 7/10 between those two. Then Enzo Trulli back in 5th, Rafael Villagomez 6th, Zdeněk Chovanec still able to hold Zdeněk Chovanec able to hold Enzo Scionti behind him still. About 5/10 of a second between those two, and then Philippe Cavaniers is not far behind either. And that is a big lock-up for Casper Stevenson.
And he's gone off.
And he's gone off into the runoff area. That's not going to do his tyres any favours, and that's going to give Dass Dass the absolute advantage here. But Stevenson tried to hold that inside line, can't do anything about it. Dass holding way more speed going into that turn, and he's done him. Going into turn 3 on the brakes, in and out, right and left, through he goes. Dass up to 3rd ahead of Stevenson. He can now try and chase down his compatriot for 2nd. Let's see what happened there. So going into turn 1, it just looked like Casper Stevenson already had a lock-up going in, had to run wide, got pulled out onto that blue zone, which does slow you down. Bit of oversteer there, trying to correct the car anyway. Realised he can't make it. and has to take the runoff, and that gives Das the advantage.
Yeah, on the entry turn 1, there's kind of a slight bump. We can't really see it on TV, but it does kind of go down and then up. So if you brake just on that bump, you don't always get the grip you're necessarily expecting. That's why it looked like a very long lock up at the front left. And a very safe thing to do is just open up the steering, because you don't want to cause any further damage to that tyre. Getting very twitchy there, Enzo Sconti behind Chovanec. Chovanec has 3 cars behind him, Sconti, Philippe Caminiars and Nazim Asman. So Asman should be able to post quite fast lap times right now with the triple slipstream effect, but it also does mean in the final sector, he's behind 3 cars, it's going to be really dirty air, going to wash him out, particularly understeer into some of these corners. And when they're very long apexes and they're going opposite direction, it just means you're never where you really want to be going into the next corner. Yeah,
Chovanec really sort of being the stop in this quartet. Yeah, it's a quartet, isn't it, of cars, but it's 4.
Yeah, 4 cars.
But it's Chovanec who leads from this little quartet of cars, and then Sconti, Caminiers and Asman recovering after that poor start from pole, and then the collision as well. And that is a little lock-up there as well for Caminiers further back.
And on lap 9, Louis Foster's lead is now down to under a second, 0.85 seconds ahead of Jack Crawford. So while he took 6/10 out of the lead on that previous lap, but the lap times are around 1.5 seconds slower than they were earlier. So the tyres are being looked after, but when the fuel load's a little lower, they're going to get faster again.
Yeah, because I looked a second ago and it was 1.3. So already Crawford is really showing his pace here. Foster coming under increased pressure. Still, no one able to find a way through. Chovanec and Asman is going to be absolutely ruining his start, isn't he? He's had a bit of bad luck this weekend. Is there anything he can do? Would you say he's just got to focus on setting the fastest lap time again to try and recover for race 3?
I certainly think so. As we're seeing, Josh Mason is kind of the fast driver on track, and finally Sconti's made that move, and Chovanec was squirming pretty much at corner entry of all those corners there, and I imagine Caminiars is going to make the move as well, potentially on the outside.
I think Chovanec's done all he can, but actually he can do more, and he's going to go and try the late move, and he can't get it through, just about misses the cone, stays on the track, tries to get back past Sconti, and then realises that was a bit too much to try there, and I think that's probably ruined his tyres a bit more as well, and he loses out on all 3 of those positions. Chovanec, though, fair play to him, giving it all he's got, and that is Sconti having to defend from Caminiars as well now, having a little look, feeling quite confident as well. Takes the wider line, Sconti having to defend, Chovanec locking up in the background, Asman is through on him as well now, and that is Caminiars running wide, so Sconti gets away with it for the time being, and then we fast forward to our front runners, and that is Louis Foster, our current leader, under huge pressure from that Red Bull liveried car of Jack Crawford, yesterday's race winner, having a little look to the outside in turn 1, can't make it there, but just 0.3 of a second between these two, and at this stage of the race it looks like Crawford is the faster of the 2 cars.
Yeah, another ½ second on that previous lap he took out, so I imagine this is a tyre wear issue here with Louis Foster. He had the same thing at race 1. Here's a replay. Chovanec goes out wide, cuts back in, and isn't going to go for a move. Caminiars behind. Caminiars actually, when he ran wide, he had his lap time deleted because that is a replay, locks the front left. The front left is being tortured by a lot of these drivers today.
And actually, Sconti there could see what was happening in the background, so it actually made for a bit of a wider line, just in case there might have been any contact with Chovanec coming back onto the racing line. So smart driving there from that Sconti.
Crawford tortures the front left there as well. You can see Foster looking in his mirrors, looking in that left mirror multiple times, wondering when Crawford was going to dive in. He eventually did, but couldn't do it. And he's tucking in and slipstream again. Foster makes his defensive move. Crawford deciding to stick with him directly behind to make use of that slipstream. Crawford all over our current leader, Louis Foster. Is he going to try and go all the way around the outside? No, he has to tuck back in for the time being. Louis Foster in that blue car, Crawford in the Red Bull livery car. Can't make it through there. Foster defending for all his might as we go into the final sector of the Circuit Paul Ricard lap. Yeah, it's very hard to overtake here, so what he'll try and do is line it up for the final corner, probably look to the outside and then dummy down, go on the inside, lunge in, as he's going to try and do here, get the better exit, higher exit speed. Took a little too much curve there, but he is in the slipstream. Foster's going to cut to the right. He wants the faster line going into turn 1 to avoid being passed into turn 2, I imagine. If he takes the inside, that's potentially going to compromise him. Goes to the outside. And yeah, perfect there, perfect defence there. So Crawford won't have an opportunity until they come around to around turn 4.
Louis Foster holding on for all his might, but Jack Crawford does look very fast. Third place, Cameron Dass, a further 5.3 seconds back, so it does just look like the battle for the win is between these two, but you never know. If these two carry on battling for a little while longer, that might allow Dass to close up and make it a three-way fight. Further back in the pack, Stevenson, Trulli, Villa-Gomez make up your top 6. Scionti holding on to 7th ahead of Asman, who has got ahead of Kiminiars, who has got ahead of Chovanec, who we saw really being the cork in that bottle there earlier on, but he's now fallen back. Kasei 11th. Josh Mason not really doing any fast lap times after coming in for a pit stop. He's down in last place at the moment.
He should come into his own in the final few laps though, because he will have that tyre life advantage on the low fuel loads. And despite not having a slipstream, he's going pretty quick straight line as well. Here's some lovely slow motion shots of the oversteer and Enzo Scionti with that also off tilt camera as well.
And you can also see the FA logo there, because that team is supported by Fernando Alonso and his driving academy. So the two Enzos there under, I'm not going to say a lot of pressure, but they've got a lot of big eyes watching them.
Yeah, Crawford as well, obviously, you know, as Red Bull watching him, he's going to find it very difficult to pass. He does look at the inside. The problem is when you're doing that, you're just compromising your exit to the next corner, and it just makes it even harder, and it torches the tyres, which is, you know, what you don't want to do.
He needs to force Foster into a mistake, especially perhaps in this final turn 15 corner, force Foster into doing a lock-up, which allows him to get right on the back and side by side coming onto the main straight. I think that's the only way Crawford might be able to get through on Foster, because right now, Foster driving, you can see there, weaving across the main straight. He might get into trouble for that, but we'll see if that comes to anything from the race stewards. But he takes that outside line again, because that is really the main racing line going into turn 1, because otherwise it's going to be disadvantaged. And he has a little squiggle on the way out, but manages to hold it half a second back now to Crawford. So actually Foster able to hold his own, just.
Yeah, a bit of lateral sliding on the tyre. He didn't even put that much input into the steering wheel. He just let it slip. And I think that's because he was waiting until the tyre then found traction on the track again, and then would accelerate, which is the kind of thing we see Max Verstappen do in F1. He's very good at doing that and avoid any lockups. I think Foster knows that his tyre life isn't as good as it was as we saw in race 1, so he's racing around the capabilities of his car right now, so I think he's going to avoid a lockup at all costs.
Well, he's got 5 laps to hold on to this. We've done 11 so far. It's Louis Foster leading from Jack Crawford, who also holds the fastest lap time. If he can hold that to the end of the race, Jack Crawford will line up on pole for race 3. Let's have a look here. This was that lateral sliding going on that Elliot was mentioning for the number 27, but he manages to hold it there, taking a little bit of life out of the tyres, holding on for all his life, the top 2. Cameron Dass 6.1 seconds back. So actually, even though these two are fighting, Cameron Dass not able to make any inroads. So it does indicate that tyre life is a factor here as we enter the final part of this race. Casper Stevenson 4th, Enzo Trulli in 5th, Rafael Villa-Gomez in 6th, Enzo Scionti is 7th. Nazim Asman, though, is all over the back of Enzo Scionti. So we'll see if Asman can make a way through. Then it's Kiminiars, Chovanec, Kasei and Josh Mason, who is going very fast in the speed sectors, but not overall in the sector 1.
Yeah,
so,
what he's losing out here is he doesn't have the power of the slipstream that all the other drivers have. He's consistently been either matching our top 2 or faster than them over the last few laps, but when it comes to that middle sector, kind of the end of the first sector, he's just got nothing of advantage that those have. And here's another huge lock-up of the front left by Chovanec. That is a guaranteed flat spot on that tyre. Here's a move with Enzo Scionti and one of the Crypto Tower cars.
I think that's Asman going through on Scionti, potentially. Or is he having a go at Villa-Gomez? We'll have to have another look at that. No, it was Asman. Asman has now got through on Enzo Scionti. So Asman up to 7th, Scionti down to 8th. Scionti, of course, a rookie in the field. Asman more experienced. And we still have this fight for the lead going on. Louis Foster weaving all over the road. Now decides to take that properly defensive line, thinks better of it, wants to come back again. So he's trying to stop Crawford from getting the slipstream.
And potentially by going offline there, he's picked up a little bit of rubber on his tyres, which may have been slightly beneficial. He's racing very clever. Yeah, so if he's reacting to the driver behind, you can't do that. But if he's making the move first and it's clear that Crawford isn't close enough to make a pass, he can get away with that. We do see it in Formula One quite often, say after safety car restarts, for example, where they still need to feed temperature and tyres. Crawford's really fast on the exit turn 10 going into turn 11, but you know that's not a place to pass, and all it does is kind of washes him out on the exit and makes it harder in turn in, but he goes down the inside on the left-hander, has to back out. Foster stays ahead. You can see the rear end of both the cars sliding a little bit, kind of hopping over the curbs, coming into these final few corners. Foster staying ahead, a little twitchy. Crawford at the front end there. They're going to have to be very careful, because although they got 5.6 seconds in hand over Cameron Dass, you know, we didn't see any sliding moments for Dass in third place while he was doing his battling, so he could come into play in these final 4 laps.
Yep. Foster holds on though, for all his might, doing that defensive driving down the straights to try and give Crawford as little slipstream as possible, and then taking the racing line, which he is entitled to do, as long as he's not cutting across Crawford. But Crawford is so good through that final sector compared to Foster, but that's the place where it's the most difficult to overtake, unless you can force the car in front of you into a mistake. But quite frankly, Foster driving a superb race. He may not be as fast as Crawford, but Foster proving that he can defend and drive his car as wide as he likes.
Yeah, and this is what happened in 2020 as well. In his first weekend at Spa, he had no experience of the car. Didn't have the fastest car either. He couldn't really optimise it because of that inexperience, but he made the most of the opportunities that were presented to him. And once he was in the lead at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, which is normally very easy to overtake on, he just kept that lead and took a remarkable win. And he's still holding off Crawford coming into the chicane. Crawford, I think he shouldn't want to make an attempt at a pass here. He's going to want to leave it to turn 10, because he knows he can carry more speed into that corner, because that corner puts a lot more load on the tyres, and therefore, you know, he knows he's got stronger tyres than Foster right now, so that's where he wants to make his move.
Well, we've had 13 laps, 3 laps to go, and this is the tightest battle out on track right now. Louis Foster has led the way since taking the lead from starting in 4th in turn 1, got a great run round the outside through on turn 1, and then has been in the lead ever since. And there Crawford has another little look down the inside, can't make it work there. But this, as we're seeing time and time again, is where Crawford seems to be strongest, but it's also where we can't pass on this track. But he has another little look there. It's going to have to be down 17. He has a little move, tries to do the dummy down the inside, can't make it work there. Foster doesn't budge. Foster a little bit squiggly on the way out though, and that is going to allow Crawford alongside him. Crawford has not been this close or alongside Foster the entire time, but that means Foster's going to have the inside line and able to fend. But can Crawford get by? They are so close together. Crawford round the outside of Foster. Can they make it work? He is through. Crawford takes the lead from Louis Foster.
And there's Timo Ricard nodding very slowly. You know, two of his drivers, he's looking over this weekend. Actually, 2 years ago at Paul Ricard, he saw a battle very close like that, and it didn't quite work out as well. So I think he's very happy that those two didn't touch, although they got as close as you can get without touching.
They were,
side-on-side
those
stuff.
tyres were inches away. Foster's front right and Crawford's front left. You'll see them here. Look at that, inches away from each other. It's near on perfect. It's as close as you can go. But crucially, Crawford was able to get alongside him there and managed to make that manoeuvre work back from turn 15 when he forced the dummy down the inside, and that led Foster to be on the back foot.
And you know, we can actually see the graining. You see the kind of black stripes on the tyres. So when they were side by side there, they're obviously looking at each other to make sure they weren't touching, but they also would have been able to spot how much graining there is on each other's tyres. And Foster could have thought, well, I can see how much tyre life he's potentially got left, so I know if I can challenge him, or maybe, you know I can't beat him now, so better to look after second place. Cameron Dass now 4.4 seconds behind, so that battle's helped bring him in by just over a second. Casper Stevenson in 4th, Enzo Trilli in 5th, Rafael Villagomez in 6th, Nazim Asman 28 seconds back now in 7th. He started this race in pole position. Quite a charge for Villagomez and Asman actually, having gone to the front, then back down to the back, and then kind of back into the midfield. Sionti and Philip Caminiars are battling down in 8th place, but we're still following our lead trio. Here's Cameron Dass in 3rd place, our points leader. He was not happy to win yesterday, but just happy to build up the points and take that points lead. I think he'll go past the 100-point marker in this race with 3rd place, but he's certainly, well, it's now the final lap actually, appearing on our timing screen. So Crawford looks like he's going to take his 2nd win in a row, and this is the 2nd reverse grid race of Euroformula SG, and actually the second time where the driver coming from 6th has ended up being the driver most likely to win.
Well, and Crawford has already pulled a 1.5 second gap to Louis Foster, and at the moment this is the final lap. So if anybody can set a faster lap time than Crawford and steal pole away, it looks like Crawford will win this race and start from pole position for the race later this afternoon, the final race 3 of Euroformula here in France. But it's been an absolutely superb race so far. Great battle out on the front. Crawford just happy to bide his time a little bit behind Foster, not getting flustered and trying to make that move earlier than was possible.
Yeah, very patient.
And he's made up 5 spots as well, so he's made the most amount of positions up, which will give him a further couple of points as well. So it's Crawford, Foster, Das, Stevenson, who's down 2, Trulli, Villagomez, Asman, Scionti and Caminiars, who we're, well, that's Trulli we're watching now, but the second of the Drive X cars is Scionti, then Caminiars, Chauvenet down to 10th, and Cassay in 11th. Mason, who had that early pit stop, is still running in 12th and last of the runners, currently desperately trying to set a fastest lap time, but seemingly unable to do so. As we watch one of the Drive X cars get a little bit shaky out on the curbs there. The number 34 of Enzo Trulli finished 4th in race 2 at the first round. So he's been relatively consistent, takes a very wide line there. Is that going to allow Villagomez to close up to the back of him, the 19-year-old Mexican? But there is your race winner. Jack Crawford takes the win in race 2. He won yesterday in France. He wins again today. That is 2 from 2. We'll find out if he can do 3 from 3 later this afternoon. Louis Foster did an absolutely sterling effort to lead most of the race from 4th, but he couldn't convert that into the win. Comes home 2nd, but a very good job from the Brit. Then it's Cameron Das in 3rd. Casper Stevenson will come home 4th. Enzo Trulli in 5th. Rafael Villagomez in 6th. Nazim Asman, who started on pole and got into that collision with Villagomez, managed to work his way back up to 7th. Enzo Scionti in 8th. Philippe Caminiars couldn't get past Scionti right at the end and actually fell a couple of seconds back from him in 9th. Zdeněk Chovanec will come home in 10th. Just about ahead of Vivian Cassay, who really pushed him right to the flag there. Just 3/10 behind Vivian Cassay. And then Josh Mason, who doesn't look like he's able to set the fastest lap time.
But I imagine with the pace advantage he had, he will still be probably around in the top 2 rows at the grid because of that fresh tyre life.
Well, we'll get confirmation of that shortly. But it looks like Jack Crawford... Oh no, it looks like Cameron Das actually has set.
Well, at the start of the race, we were running in the 1:55s, and I think as the drivers started battling, it dropped in the 57s.
We'll have a look here. Here's confirmation though. Jack Crawford for Team Motorpart. The man from the USA is your race winner for race 2. Then Louis Foster in 2nd. Cameron Das fills out that final podium position. Casper Stevenson in 4th. Enzo Trulli and Rafael Villagomez 5th and 6th. Nazim Asman will be disappointed with that, especially after yesterday's stall as well in 7th. Enzo Scionti 8th. Philippe Caminiars, who managed to get involved in a few battles this afternoon, or this morning even, is 9th. Zdeněk Chovanec, who held on for all his might but ruined his tyres and in the end fell down to 10th, just ahead of Vivian Cassay. And Josh Mason will be the last of the runners. So here's what it does to the Drivers' Championship now. And Elliot, you're right. We do cross the 100 barrier. Cameron Das leads by 41 points from Louis Foster, 112 to 71. Jack Crawford now in 3rd. So having missed the first 2 races, he is now really in the hunt for this championship. Casper Stevenson 4th and Nazim Asman, your top 5. Enzo Scionti and Zdeněk Chovanec make up 9th and 10th spot. And here comes your race winner, though. Here he is across the line, back into pit lane now. A very happy man indeed for Jack Crawford.
And that's my cue to follow him to the podium.
We'll see you there, Elliot. We'll hear the US national anthem once again. The 16-year-old from Houston, Texas, Red Bull junior driver as well. So Red Bull will be looking at this and going, well, rubbing their hands together, I imagine, because they found a young American driver to join their driver scheme who is doing very well in single-seaters and is just 16 years old. with still such a bright future ahead of him if he can maintain this kind of pace and performance. Pulls in to that P1 spot. We see Cameron Dass in the background there, clambering out of his car. He'll be happy with that in third. And Louis Foster in second, unable to keep Jack Crawford behind him, but what a brilliant drive for him for the majority of the race, able to take the lead so early on with that brilliant move around the outside into turn one, holding off Crawford for as long as he might, doing all the right things, putting his car in all the right places, but Crawford just looked like he had that slight advantage and was able to get by in those last few laps and take the win for Team Motorpark. There is your race 2 winner. A salute to his team, hugs all round. He'll be very happy with that. That'll give him a lot of confidence going into race 3 as well. And we could have a repeat from Portimao, where the American Cameron Dass took 3 wins from 3. So far, Jack Crawford looks set to do that as well.
I don't know, they changed the board. I don't know.
No, it was a mistake by the...
There was a swap, huh?
Yeah.
Smile and wave for the cameras. P1. So Crawford, Foster and Dass, then Stevenson just missing out on the podium, about 3.6 seconds back. Enzo Trulli in 5th, Rafael Villa-Gomez in 6th, Nazim Azman, who started on pole, a bit of a slow getaway from him and then involved in that collision early on with Rafael Villa-Gomez in an effort to try and make back some positions, ultimately cost him big time. And actually, speaking to him yesterday, he was so disappointed with that performance yesterday, hoping to make up ground, looking at the computers, trying to find out where to go fast, and he is fast around here. But couldn't do it today, but these guys could, and your top 3 looks like this. Cameron Dass for Team Motorpark. In second place was Louis Foster, going one better than he did in yesterday's race, but there is your race winner. He won yesterday, he wins again today, Jack Crawford.
Jack Crawford, good to see you again here, and what a move to win this race.
Yeah, it was quite a difficult race. The track was a bit damp in the first sector, so it was difficult to adjust to in the first couple laps. Louis got a quite good lead at the start, so I had to catch him, and yeah, when they got behind him, he was defending well and hard, and I just had to sort of poke my nose him and make him defend, and then it allowed me to get alongside and yeah, take the lead. And I think I had the tire advantage at the end because he fell off more with the tires. So yeah, happy to get the win, and thanks to Motorpark for the good car.
Well done. Thank you. Podium now.
Well, here's how race 2 looked in the Euroformula Open. Nazim Azman on the right-hand side, pole position, had a slow start, was able to get away though, unlike yesterday, but look to the outside in that blue car. Louis Foster able to make the best start and swoop round the outside to take first position after starting a couple of rows back, making a very good start for the young Brit there and able to pull a gap there from Casper Stevenson. We had a little bit of a collision there as well with Nazim Azman and Rafael Villa-Gomez, as Azman and Villa-Gomez both tried to make up positions lost. Zdeněk Chovanec had a really good battle with the 2 DriveX boys and Josh Mason getting a little bit tight there. Zdeněk Chovanec's tyres screaming for all he might, trying to defend. He was the cork in the bottle, but that soon came undone. First it was Enzo Trulli passed, and then we were going 3 wide in the background. Ultimately though, that was Jack Crawford getting through and coming up through the ranks to hunt down our race winner, setting the fastest lap. In the meantime, Zdeněk Chovanec also all over the road, still trying to maintain position, putting on a great show, driving for all he might, but that wasn't going to work. And this was the move for the race lead between Jack Crawford and Louis Foster, as close as you dare, tyres inches away from each other, but it was Jack Crawford who managed to make the most of it and cross the line to be your race 2 winner. And there we have your podium then. It's 3rd place for Cameron Dass. 2 Americans on the podium once again, and then split by Louis Foster in 2nd. as we wait for your race winner. It's 2 from 2 so far this weekend for Jack Crawford, and we'll hear the American national anthem. Well, there we have it then. Jack Crawford, your race winner. Louis Foster in second and Cameron Das in third. A great job all round from these three, with just the one big incident throughout this race. And we look forward to what race 3 brings. Join us for that later this afternoon. Until then.
Okay. It's a thing.